names, but let me see. Right here. Yep.
Oh yeah, is it Roblox? Is it that one?
No. Go to the thing. Good choice. To survive.
This is...
Hey, you can choose over there. Turn back.
Oh, I'm going that way. So when Maxie was little, I always used to say, Maxie, give me a kiss, and he'd sort of waddle over and he'd give me a little, kiss, and he'd waddle past. And it was like overnight that changed. And I thought, well, that's weird, and then this sort of threw a bit of a spanner in the works. I knew that there was something not quite right.
Puzzled, perplexed. We were in denial for a while. But then the reality sort of sinks in. You think, well, that's what it is.
And then when you finally hear those words, it's like a punch in the guts.
And it sort of just empties you. It's like being emotionally winded is probably the best way I could put it. I knew that nothing was going to be the same from that point forward.
To be very honest, it was a big confusion actually. But then slowly we got to know what autism is. So it's been almost like a year and a half now after we got the diagnosis. So we are in a better position now. So
when we first found out the diagnosis, we felt quite guilty because we suspected it much earlier.
Is this something that I did? Is this something that we both did, I guess, myself and my wife? My perfect world of having a child was kind of just shattered into something that I really didn't know how to deal with, so...
I didn't understand it. That's probably what I think got me surprised. I just needed to go away, learn a little bit about what they just said to me, so...
I was watching a show on TV, and it was about 30 seconds long that I saw. It was about autism. And I turned it off and went to bed. And then all of a sudden I sat bolt upright and got onto Wikipedia and Google, and that's when I sort of thought, oh.
I couldn't focus on anything. These words kept coming through my head. Autism, what does it mean? What do I do? And I would go to sleep and wake up in the morning and forget about autism. And all of a sudden it'd come back in my head, oh, that's right. My child has autism. How am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do?
You immediately go to all the things you don't think he's going to do. So you spend all this time thinking, well, will he have a girlfriend? Will he get married? Will he drive a car? Will he... And what you forget is that tomorrow you still have to do something just like normal, like everybody else.
When I look back now, you could see all of the classic telltale signs, but at the time when you're going through it, you don't really expect that this is something that's going to happen to one of your children. People don't want the diagnosis, just like any other type of condition, but it actually then allows you to start to address the issues and solve the problem.
We've got the diagnosis, okay, what do we need to do? How do we, and it's crazy because Chloe goes into this whole sort of, is he going to get married? Is he going to have a girlfriend ever? That whole sort of thing. I was just sitting there thinking, is he ever going to be able to play footy? That was where I was at, I didn't think it was the end of the world. I just thought, okay, we've got some stuff we've got to deal with here.
And I still remember Nick and I sitting in the front seat of the car outside, and it was raining and we were just crying our eyes out. But I think also it was the beginning. It was the beginning at that moment. That's we go, right, okay, and after you've had a good cry, got out of your system, you got to dust yourself off and go, okay, let's go for it.
And essentially the paediatrician gives you the diagnosis and that's it. See you later. The rest is yours. And so it's like you're kind of lost because you don't know what treatment, therapy, whatever works. So you kind of reach for whatever you can to try to find a way to make it work.
I get asked this occasionally, and it's embarrassing, but I had to Google autism. You just don't know.
And here's your plethora of options from lots of, lots of statistically proven and referenced right through to the crazy.
You know, there's a lot of people that want to push their particular therapy or a particular solution, and some of those are very well-meaning, some of them probably are a bit opportunistic, and so you've just got to make sure that you go to a reliable source.
And you just don't know where to start. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
And I think as parents of a kid who's got a disability like that, you're looking for the silver bullet.
Oh my goodness, we had speech therapy, we had occupational therapy, we had this therapy. I mean, we had therapy for ourselves. I mean, we had every type of therapy. And then we just realized that actually, like, watch the stuff that works, you know. So he really likes visual stimulus, so let's use lots and lots of that. He loves getting a little bit of feedback, let's do more and more of that. And we just worked on the stuff that worked, and we stripped away everything that didn't.
You know, we found the one thing that did work. It was ABA therapy for Max. We've met families that ABA therapy didn't work for, so that, you know, you've got to find that thing.
We relied a lot on the internet. We had fantastic support from local area health in the first few months.
We did get a lot of help from the community as well. Like, we did have a few, we have few Facebook groups who are they have formed a community with all the children who are on spectrum and all. So we did get a lot of information from them as well.
Researched on dial-up internet that was crappy. And as it turned out, found the best things that are still available.
And we were all sitting on little 2-year-olds' chairs around this woman, and she comes in. She goes, "Oh, I just want to try something." And she went over to Jack and went, "Stand up." And seriously, I don't know whether it was the voice or whatever it is, I immediately wanted to stand up. All the parents wanted to stand up, and Jack stood up. And it was like, wow, what's this?
I was told very early on that resonated with me from an old school teacher. If everyone's telling you the same thing, that's what works. If everyone's telling you something different, do whatever works for your kid.
And as we got more clever about how to extract value from the system or from the schools or to play the game with people, we did better. But I'd even say today, there's no great plan. You have to be on it a lot as parents, and that's hard bloody work.
What you doing?
Oh, playing a game called Steppy Pins. Seeing what ترجمة stuff that you want to build. You have to build your kingdom though.
He's running, you're not pushing him to run, you just make him jump. But I'm not getting is why are the toes important?
They cheer you up once you do a lot of epic things, like get all the coins.
Okay.
I don't know if it was conscious or not unconscious in the way we navigate. All I remember is that in that same meeting, he said, well, the only thing I can tell you is that most people who have an autistic children or child end up getting divorced. So that was a great start. You know, you're sort of sitting there going, excellent. This is where we're starting from.
Every possible conflict trigger in a human's life are magnified tenfold when you're parenting a child who's got special needs.
You know, the most important person in your child's development is your wife or your partner.
From the day one, she had a fantastic plan. It was about independence, friends, and support. And she would pursue all that really aggressively.
I say we. What I really mean is my wife, Bronwyn, because she's the rock and she's the person that actually enabled everything, you know, from all of the organisation. Once we made a decision, said, right, this is what we need to do in our early intervention, she just went into machine mode.
You know, I often think, what would it have been like if she hadn't been there, you know? If I'd been a single dad, you know, how would I have been able to do that? I don't really, to be honest, think I would have been up to it. I don't think I would have had the mental acumen to actually pull it together.
She stayed at home with 2 boys, 16 months apart. One of them's autistic. That was a barrel of fun for her. And I got to go to work. But at least it was a partnership of, we figured out we would do that. And then we just sort of tag-teamed everything.
Definitely a teamwork. and she has been driving everything. My partner, she's like all over the autism spectrum, and I am actually just supporting her in whatever way I can, just to make sure that she's okay.
But we've had to work together as a team. We've had to compromise. We've had to support each other, be the safety net when one of us powers on for a couple of weeks and then just falls down in a heap. The other person's in a position to pick up the ball and keep running.
So just sitting down and having a conversation once a day, every night, helps in terms of direction. So just talking to each other is really important.
It puts your relationship in sharp focus, but it also doesn't give you enough time sometimes to spend the time on your relationship you should be. And you've got to hope it's good enough in the first place that you'll both be able to forgive each other of that.
Marriage isn't easy at the best of times. Marriage with an autistic child is even harder. It just makes life harder. So you got to invest.
We're very, very lucky, Wendy and I, that we got struck up the arse with the rainbow, that we really fell hard for each other, and we still feel the same way about each other, because if anything's going to break up a partnership, it's a kid with a disability, especially a fair dinkum one. So I think it's the one that if your relationship can survive a decent bout of autism, you're going all right. A bad day is any day where we were in that period where Alex was quite violent to himself and to other people. And I think the bad days were always days when I weren't there, and I heard about it afterwards, and it was my Catholic guilt coming out.
He would scream 23 hours, 24 hours a day for the first few months. And he was angry and frustrated, and it was because we were messing with his world, trying to bring him into some sort of pattern that we could then work with, to build upon, to do something. And I remember going to work some days thinking, thank God I got to go to work, you know. And I felt guilty for it, but it was just like normal. You just want to get out of that, you know, the situation.
There were absolutely horrible days. There were days when you're sitting there and your son's non-verbal, and you can see that he's upset and you can't fix it. And you want to fix it, and if there's a way you could, you would, but you just can't. And that hurts as a parent. There's no one to go to. And there were nights where I just cried myself to sleep.
There's a lot of them. You'll find there's a few of them, you know. But having a sense of humour is a really good thing to have, and having somebody you can laugh with is a really good thing to have.
Bedtime used to be, for me, nightmarish, and it could be up to 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be just tearing my hair out trying to get Alex to stay in bed. And then, once I get him to bed and get him to sleep, then it's sort of like trying to wind down enough myself to get to sleep. And that went on for quite a while.
The worst day is when the stars don't align for him, and you need to get him to multiple appointments. You need to... he could be sick, he could be in a mood, he's hurt himself and you don't know it because he's non-verbal.
Worst day would be like whenever it's a new occasion, like say suppose we take Rahi to a birthday party or something. Anything like any special occasions where a lot of crowd and she's not well prepared beforehand. So that's when the things go worse actually.
Pretending that everything was fine for the sake of other people. Everyone was going to a birthday party, and you've got to try and make sure that we all keep it together, that behaviour, language, everything works, that all the social relationships work. You keep it all together and go home. That was exhausting. As most parents will understand, there are birthday parties every 2 weeks for 15 years, you know, and so you just think, here we go again, you know, put the armour up and let's survive another one.
Simple things like going to a shopping centre and just dealing with just trying to deal with a meltdown in a shopping centre, and then trying to deal with the social pressures of the stairs and the like, and what were going on. I'll control your child and so forth.
And not to judge particularly children, but not to judge parents as well when you see them in those situations, because you just don't know what the issues are that are behind it, and they're really difficult times for people. So a bit of compassion, I think, probably goes a long way in those circumstances.
The worst day, I think the worst day was only about 6 weeks ago when he had a massive seizure, and he was dead on the bed. But yeah, we got him back, but that was probably the worst day.
You got him back.
We got him back. We were both there.
Let's go. Yeah, go on, hold on to there. I'll get up there too. Who's the super climber? Good morning. How high do you want to go? Getting pretty high, mate. It's a better view up here, mate. I remember distinctly the first day that he actually engaged with eye contact with me was like, yeah, I mean, it seems such a little thing, but we worked 6 months to get him to do that, via a whole bunch of strategies. When you get those wins, they're the best days.
As a parent of an autistic child, like any like little achievement is amazing. We were unsure whether he was ever going to talk. So when he started to sort of string some words together and say a sentence, like it was just, those moments were like, wow, and
Sleep was a big issue for a long period of time, and certainly, when a child with autism finally sleeps through the night, I think that's a big plus.
And I'd never heard my son speak, and he said his first word. And you're just like, at that point, your universe is non-verbal, and then you get a word. And then suddenly that universe grows. You're like, oh, okay, now this is the world in which we work in. And then you get your next development and it keeps going. So that was a huge day for us.
A good day. Sleeps through the night. Eats all his food. Is smiling, is happy, is playing.
I think probably one of the best days ever was the first time he had a little friend come over to play Xbox with him. We've got a couple little boys in the neighbourhood now that come over quite regularly and play Xbox with him, and I just love that.
There's been so many of those things where you take them for granted, but for him, they're like amazing moments, right? Because he knows he's done something that just is cool. When he realises that and he projects that, then that's when you get those moments you go, yeah, that's cool.
Oh, best days would be, I would say, the night before, where she sleeps well, like at least 8 hours. The next day would be the best day.
He opened a gate for me once. That was pretty special. We worked on it for about 4 months, and he got the gate open and closed. Still with me giving instructions out the driver's side window, but he felt really proud of himself, and I was incredibly proud of him. So, yeah, there's lots of good days.
And I'm pretty sure every parent would have these moments, but just as glimpses of their happiness and just being able to see Lachlan in particular interact with his peers.
But there's so many moments with Jack that have just impressed the hell out of me. These sheer guts. I mean, going to school, and I know he didn't know what was going on in that school. He didn't really know what he had to do or anything, but the sheer guts of him turning up and going, okay, I'll do it,
Getting a hug, saying dad, getting a kiss. These are huge days. But then, I mean, for me, first day of school, just unbelievable. For a parent with a child on the spectrum, those little wins, you just keep them forever.
You've got a nail, mate. How has autism changed me? How has it changed me? I had no idea about how something that seems so awful happening to you and your family can ultimately not only make you, but make everyone around you and just exponentially improve you as a person. And, you know, it's, I hate to say it, but it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
You tend to look at people and their behaviours less critically, and you're far, far more accepting because you don't know what's going on in their lives and what's going on in their heads.
Yeah, I used to be, I call it the accumulator, you know, it's all about what I can make and get, you know, sort of, and now it's what I can do and give, basically, you know, it's really, that's the difference.
I'm a much better person. I'm more patient, more understanding.
A more thoughtful person, a more reflective person. You know, the experience of autism and taking citizenship in the disabled community has enabled me to view life and the role of career, the role of family in a very different way. And so I think it's shifted my priorities, but also given me a compass that is more meaningful and anchors my life.
I was much more selfish back then, but now it's different in the sense that I can give something back and spare more of my time, be more patient, just be more receptive and open to things.
It makes you think your future changed. Your future definitely changed. At first you think it's for worse, and then you realise, no, it's actually going to be okay. There's nothing wrong with what's happening around you.
I care a lot more about people. I'm far more aware of other people and what they're going through. I think that's probably the thing that's changed me. I've grown as a human being, grown as part of society.
Overcoming, struggling, bettering yourself, that makes you a better person. So now when I'm faced with a challenge, say at work, it doesn't rattle me. How could, you know, a deadline rattle me? How could an upset customer rattle you?
And I can only recommend it because it's the best thing that's happened to my family. We're unembarrassable. We're better people because of Val.
The big ticket items I would suggest are find other parents to talk to, because people who've walked the path that you're now stepping onto are the best people to build a relationship and understand what that journey might be. And just sharing your uncertainties and fears with someone who's walked down that path.
I actually thought it would be just a, take him to therapy, gets fixed, and then it'll be okay. I definitely know that's not true. You can resolve some issues very quickly. Some are going to take longer.
But persevere at it, because getting involved and rejoicing those little baby steps and those little steps as you go along to get the kid what they need to be able to run along in this world is the reward that you get out of that is larger than you can ever possibly imagine.
Gut feeling is I would say is really important, and if we went on our gut feeling, we've got a earlier diagnosis and earlier therapy.
Right at the beginning, I wish someone had helped make the diagnosis earlier. I wish I'd made the diagnosis earlier. So I think don't fear the diagnosis. because the diagnosis is something that actually crystallises things and helps you understand.
The biggie is to be prepared to travel to find the professional help, and the people that are doing the job properly, they'll help you.
Probably the thing that's always stuck with me is the advice of, if you have other kids, this is not something that needs to take over, no matter how hard that might be, because they didn't ask for that either. As much as the son or daughter didn't ask to have a disability or to be autistic or to have a problem with relating to other people, the other kids didn't ask for it either. So I would say, be very conscious of that.
If you're a dad and you're in this situation and you're sitting there and you don't know what's going on, there's only one piece of advice. Stay strong. It's not going to be easy, and that seems so flippant and so nonchalant and, oh, thanks, mate, stay strong. What a great piece of advice. You should be a motivational speaker, but your family needs it as well.
I mean, I'll tell you, the best thing I did was I just invested time in my wife. And Max was the beneficiary of that, because she felt like she could slay a dragon, you know.
You don't know, out of all this, what amazing people you're about to meet. There's a fraternity out there of other parents who are wonderful, and they're the ones who you will value for life.
And the first thing that they said to us is, "This is the worst your child will ever be." And that phrase has stuck to me all along, because from then on, he has got better.
It feels at the start like you're just grinding along, but then you get your little win, then you get another win, and they just keep coming and they keep piling up.
There was a time with Jack where to get him to say hello was all we wanted. It was like, that'll do. And then it's suddenly 20 years later and you've got a man. And that man is surprising to you, because not only can he do those basic things you want him to do, he's a mate and he's fun to hang out with, and he's got his own world going on. He's got his own people, his own friends.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep, I would definitely say so, because from past 1.5 years, we have seen a lot of progress in our child, and definitely once she is growing, we are also growing with her, and it is definitely getting better. And I would say it would be much better.
And I think the deeper in you get, the quicker it gets better, because your understanding gets more comprehensive of the situation of that person. So you can deal with it in a more appropriate fashion.
And I think that's the thing that you have to hold on to on the rough days as well, is that you see the progress. I mean, the progress might not be as fast as it is in some other children, but you do see the progress, and you got to, hold on to that. And
it's just a wonderful process being a dad, being a father, being able to have someone who is with you all the time, a little bit of a shadow. It's amazing. And honestly, even knowing now all the tough bits, even going through those tough periods, not knowing the outcome, not knowing where I'd end up, I wouldn't trade a single bit in the world. I wouldn't swap anything. Where I am now is so incredibly happy, and I certainly do believe it does get a lot better. You just got to sort of stick in there.
It's a whole different world. I mean, Jack, I can still see that the spectrum in there with Jack. There's a side to Jack that's always going to be there, but that sort of makes him. That's who he is. And you wouldn't have him any other way, because he brings a perspective to everything that's really quite fantastic.
There's light at the end of the tunnel, man. If you asked me, when Max was diagnosed, how do you feel? I was so angry, I was bitter, I was disappointed. But if you ask me now, would I change anything? Man, I wouldn't change a thing. It made me a better person, it made my wife a better person. It made our family a better family. It humbled me. You know, it made me understand, you know, what the world's really about. You know, it's about other people. You know, it's about doing stuff for other people, about helping other people. And yeah, it changed me forever.
I would say that this is not the end of the world, and definitely there is hope. We are seeing a lot of progress with our child, and we are seeing other kids as well who are doing really well. So I would say never lose hope. Just keep working hard, and definitely you will make a difference in your child's future.
I've seen too many parents now who, you know, have avoided therapies purely just out of denial, you know. And that's, I think, got a lot to do with our cultural background. I think we have to, label it. You have to give it a name. It has to have what it is. What's wrong with your son? He's on the spectrum. What is, you know? And then that starts the conversation.
You need colleagues, you need advisors, you need friends, you need loved ones. And if you can embrace a journey with that micro community of supporters and colleagues in mind, I think it bodes well for a healthy family, a healthy person, and a stronger journey.
Look, it's been a privilege. It's been a privilege to go down the track that you go down, having someone with a disability in your family. I wish that he didn't have autism, but I'm really grateful for the fact that I've got to know Alex for who he is.
Denial, right? So you always think your kid is fine, they'll just cruise through life, but it's not always like that. So acceptance, like you have to accept it and find the appropriate help that you need to get.
And it comes back to that issue of accepting and understanding the diversity that's there in the community. That there are people that are autistic, they have a lot to offer the world, and we need to make sure that we get everything out of those children that they've got to offer.
Remember, this is still your son or your daughter. Yeah, there's going to be challenges, yeah, there's going to be a bunch of issues, but do not forget your responsibility. And that sounds a little heavy-handed, but what I mean by that is it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging, but you did sign up to be a dad or a mum, and it's okay. You can still be that dad or mum. You're just going to have to work at it a little bit harder, okay?
And look, it's completely okay to show moments of weakness. It's completely okay to have a bad day. It's completely okay to say, oh, I just can't today. But I think if you stick with it, if you show the love, show the support, you'll get the benefits.
You get a really good radar for autism after a while, and you know, there's a lot of it in a lot of us, and we function okay. It's just sometimes some people get more than a spoonful.
Be there for everybody. Step up, and after all these years, and I've noticed this with a lot of other dads who've been through what you're about to go through, it gets better. It gets so much better than you think it's going to be, and learn from it.
I'll just say this, I would never have thought in a million years that Max would have been the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and he is. And when I had a diagnosis and I felt like, you know, life is going to be hopeless, and now look at us now. Is that going to be the same for everyone? I don't know. I hope so, but there's hope there.
sit with me? There we go.
It's your kid, and you'll do anything you can for that kid.
Come on,
No one can share the black humour of parenting a child with a disability like someone else who's got a child with a disability.
The first memory was I could remember being in an education lecture where one of the lecturers said, oh, and there's this thing called autism, but you'll never encounter that.
Yeah, he's a little quirky, but I don't care because most of the time, 99% of the time, most people just go, you got tall kids.
You know, the old saying, if you've met one autistic child, you've met one autistic child. You know, that's it. Like, because every one of them is different.
Parents with kids on the spectrum, they're a hardy bunch, and you sit there and you think, not, oh, woe is me, it's, okay, how am I going to climb this mountain? And, you know, left foot, right foot, get going.